What is up, YouTube? What is up, Soulstorm community? It's me, Darcy Minister, and I'm back with a new video. This time it's going to be another Space Marine video, but it's going to be about Space Marines versus Eldar. And why am I doing this video? Well, I personally just hate Eldar. I really despise playing against Eldar. And I think most Space Marine players really despise playing against Eldar. When I go on Discord channels, everyone thinks Eldar is broken and Space Marines can't do anything in this matchup. Some people are more nuanced. They'll say something along the lines of, well, yes, it's a hard matchup, but it's at least doable. But most people, if not every single person, unless you are a little bit of a contrarian, will say that this is a very favored matchup towards Eldar. My personal experience is that this is a very rough matchup. And I found myself in a situation where I had to figure out what to do, because one of my biggest problems was that I was playing maps where I was thinking, like, what am I actually going to do on this map? Like, what am I supposed to do on this map specifically? And usually the answer is, I don't actually know. So I needed to check, like, what do you actually do? So as a player an above average player of Space Marines, whenever I make these kind of guides, whenever I make videos, I always make sure that what I'm saying is backed up by pro players or replays or anything like that. And so my opinion doesn't stand alone. It's true that I used to peak in the high ends. Apparently it's higher than I said in my original video. Apparently I was 1860 or something along those lines at some point. But again, those numbers are pretty inflated, I think. And therefore, I always make sure that the people that I'm getting my sources from and my knowledge from are actually really good players. And I try to make sure that I have data to back up my statements. And so I went on a mission. Here's a stack of paper. Here's another stack of paper. Here's a big stack of paper. And yeah, I have a notebook as well, but it's not here right now. And yes, there is something on every single page. And what I did was I watched 56 games of Space Marines versus Eldar. That was like torture, but I did it anyway. And I wrote down notes for every single game. I wrote down every single build order. And I'm not gonna go through every single game with you guys because it'll be like torture. But I can say that every single game I can boil it down to certain patterns, and I can also give you the cookie cutter versions of what the pro players do. And I will say it boils down to 4 different, well, technically 5 different build orders, and we will go into that later on in the video. The data consists of 4 different pro players, one who doesn't play anymore called Marshes, and then Mihalich, who still plays today, by the way, and then All-Seeing Eye and Randall Thor. All really good Space Marine players, or at least former good Space Marine players. All-Seeing Eye and Randall Thor today is top 10 or top 15 on the Soulstorm ladder. By the way, I didn't include Beer God or Beer Bash. I actually have a feeling it's the same player. The reason why I didn't do that is because they play very, like, they play the same maps all the time. And so I wanted players who is high ladder but still have variation in their maps that they're playing. So that's why I didn't include the other players. I will go through map for map as well on how are you supposed to play Eldar on Shrine of Excellion, Blood River, Outer Reaches, Quest Triumph, Fata Morga. I'm gonna go through them all. I have games from 10 different maps, so this will be fun. And I will also tell you what the player tendencies are, because the pro players do play different and have their own little niche spin on a certain build order. But yeah, we'll get into it, guys. I am talking too much right now, and I just want to go into it, shall we? Before I go into the build orders and the strategies and the many different maps that you can play, I wanted to talk about Eldar in general and this matchup in general, because there are certain things that people should know when they think about this matchup. And this might actually change your perspective a little bit on this matchup in general if you are a new player and you hate this matchup. One, Eldar does not have any early game melee units except for the Farseer. Some people might say, well, what about the Howling Banshees? Well, I I'm not an Eldar main, okay? But I have not seen Howling Banshees pretty much ever, and when I see it, it usually is like troll. Or it's like, haha, I surprised you. Yeah, but it's still bad, bro. Oh, yeah, but I still surprised you, right? Yeah, I guess you surprised me with your shitty strategy. The only time I've seen Howling Banshees where I was like, okay, that works, was when I saw it against Necrons, I think. But I rarely see it. I think most Eldar player will say that that's kind of a bad unit. So, no, they don't build Howling Banshees. Eldar doesn't have melee units except for the Farseer, and we'll get to the Farseer, by the way. Why is this important? Well, it's important because if you only have ranged units, you will suffer a lot on maps with a lot of heavy cover. And this will be relevant when I go through the maps soon. Eldar doesn't have jumping units either. This is also important because it means that terrain heavy maps is really, really annoying for Eldar to play it on if the opponent is coming with jumping units, because the opponent can jump all over the map and you can't. You have to go through a whole mountain or like all the way through like many different corners of the map just to get on the other side of like a big terrain. Then thirdly, Eldar has a questionable commander. Now, I'm not going to make the claim that she's the weakest, but I'm obviously this is my opinion, but I actually think she is the weakest commander. But I think the consensus is she's one of the weaker commanders. It's not necessarily like her abilities are pretty good actually, but she has very questionable stats, and the real reason why you would probably consider her weak is because she costs so much. I think she cost 80 power or something like that. It's really, really hard for Eldar to like get to tier 2 if you're using 80 power on Farseer. You will sometimes see Eldar not even going commander. You will also sometimes see them go commander, but it's not always, and that can actually be in your favor sometimes. Then Eldar doesn't have a tier 1.5. Most people don't talk about this. I know some people mention it, but that's really good players who does that. The two races that does not have a tier 1.5, so if you don't know that, what that is, that's basically when you build armory. So that's Pristine Sanctuary by Sisters. It's Tactica Control by IG. It's Armory for both Chaos and Space Marines. Basically, Homunculus Lab by Dark Eldar. You know, the building that gives you upgrades, but you're not tier 2 quite yet. Tau and Eldar does not have this option. They have to go tier 2 in order for them to actually have access to upgrades. And this is important because it means that certain races can just push them a little bit when they get their tier 1.5, because they have access to weapons, they have access to upgrades that Eldar does not have. And that is an opening where you might actually finish off Eldar. And I will show you certain games where that might actually be possible. Another problem for Eldar is that they don't have a lot of strong building damage. Later in the game, they will for sure have like a lot of building damage, but early game, Dark Reapers doesn't really deal that much building damage compared to how much DPS they should have in theory. And like Rangers doesn't do any damage pretty much on buildings in general. This gives certain situations for Eldar where they can't base trade with you. They can't just like, they can harass you, your units, but they won't be able to destroy your buildings. That is important in certain build orders that I'm going to show you later on. As I've said, I've seen a lot of games, okay? 56 to be exact. I'm gonna tell you right now, I have not seen... Well... Okay, sorry. I actually saw one game where Eldar did not start Rangers. Otherwise, they start Rangers every single time. They do pretty much the same build order every single time. The build order for Eldar is always Rangers. Rangers first, it's Aspect Portal, Generator, Rangers. They might get Dark Reapers right after, maybe one, maybe two. I have seen few cases where they get three, but the reason why they go the Rangers is because the Rangers are really good at harassing. They're really good against scouts, and they even fine against builders. They're really annoying. You can give them stealth and stuff, but the other reason is that Dark Reapers actually suffer against snipers from scouts. This is why you don't rush Dark Reapers unless the Space Marine player doesn't see it coming, because the snipers are so strong against Dark Reapers. So they outrange them, they one-shot them to some extent. So you will kind of know every single game what the Eldar player is going to do. He's going to start Rangers, and I've even seen a lot of cases where Eldar doesn't even build more than just, you know, a Ranger squad, and then they just check. And you can use this to your advantage. So yeah, no melee units, no jumping units early game. Questionable commander. They have no tier 1.5. They have no strong building damage early game. And they always open up Rangers, so you know exactly what they're going to do. Why is this matchup so rough then? Well, it's because of the Rangers. It's because of the early game. In my personal opinion, the Rangers are single-handedly the biggest problem for Space Marines. There's other small things that's really annoying. For example, the Dark Reapers have longer range than the regular Space Marines, and also Space Marines as a race in general is a little bit slow, and Eldar is very fast, so they have utility advantage and stuff. But the main reason is the Rangers. The Rangers literally can one-shot, or almost one-shot, your scouts. And they can also deal pretty heavy damage towards builders, but not that much in my own experience, compared to what they should do. And yeah, they just break morale of your regular Space Marines if you go that. So my personal experience, and from the games that I've seen, you don't do standard build order against Eldar. This is the biggest mistake that I think beginners are doing. They just make the standard build order. Don't do that. You don't win by playing standard in this matchup unless you surprise the Eldar player, because they are not used to playing against standard, or you are way better than the Eldar player. That's my experience, but the games that I've watched pretty much shows or confirms what I think of this. Don't play standard. So yeah, let's get into the maps, shall we? Alright, so now let's get into the maps. I'm going to go through every single 10 maps that I've seen, tell you exactly what the pro players' approach to that map is, what is their build order that they're going into when they play the map against Eldar. And yeah, I'm just going to give you the whole thing, right? So Fata Morga. It seems to me that Assault Marines is pretty much the only way to go, or at least it's the most successful one I've seen. There are many different versions of Assault Marines, but the general idea is get some assault marines and do some early harass and try to like annoy Eldar as much as possible, keep them on their toes so they don't attack your base. Instead, you keep them busy with assault marines, basically. Assault marines are good on this map because there is actually a decent amount of terrain. So there's a big river, two big rivers that you can't cross, and there's obviously a bridge right in the middle. There's some like small cliffs here and there on the map, even at the base. So this is actually a decent moment to go assault marines. It's not the most amazing because the points are not like too far from each other, but they're not super close to each other either. So it's a good assault marine map, I would say. I have seen an completely opposite though, which was a eco boom build order. It was all-seeing eye, and it felt a tiny bit cheesy. A tiny bit. But it's basically get a barrack and a generator. Yes, you do that. And then you get LP2s. And I think the reason why, even though this is very risky, by the way, and if you don't know what you're doing, probably don't do it, but it does work sometimes, and we will actually see a game where it works very well. But it's basically you being super defensive on the map. Eldar does not have a lot of building damage, as I told you before, so this might actually be the reason why this works. I'm still shocked that it is an actual approach Space Marines have against Eldar, but the main reason, and I probably didn't tell you already now, but Space Marines is stronger than Eldar in Tier 2, in general. And the later we go into the game, the worse it will get for Eldar. In general. That's at least what I've seen so far. It gets very rough in the very late stages of the game, I feel like, for Eldar. The later the game goes, the better. And if you can get to the late game a little faster, then you do that if it's possible for Space Marines. So the two ones that I've seen where I can confirm this was an actual approach is Assault Marines and Eco Boom. I have seen 4 Scout opening, but that didn't go so well. I can't remember. I've actually not noted it down. I can't remember if it's All-Seeing Eye or it's Randall Thor. I feel like I remember it was All-Seeing Eye, but I'm not sure, to be honest. Assault Marines seems to be the really way, the most successful way to go, so I would recommend that. Okay, so Blood River. Blood River is probably one of the worst maps for Space Marines. This is my own experience. This is also what I've seen in certain games. It also seems to be what most of the high-rated players say. It is one of the more rough maps. I think it's definitely top 3 of the worst maps to play. All-Seeing Eye's approach is very clear. He goes 4 scouts. He goes the 4 scout build order, and yes, I will go into every single build order. It's basically capture 2 of your outer points and then go into the enemy base with the scouts. He did this 3 times. I've seen it 3 times. So he did it every single time I saw him play Blood River. And then I've seen one standard build order. That was Randall Thor. That's his approach on this map. Granted, I only saw 1 game, but he basically built standard, and it was rough for him. It was not like it was not an easy game for him. Let's say it like that. But he went a turret. And when do you build the turret? Well, you build the turret right after your barrack. So you get the barrack immediately, and then you build the turret. In his case, he built it right around the river, so he covered if he was going to be rushed. So he could cover this area right here, which is very vulnerable for Space Marines. Mihalich, his approach is a little more different. He goes sniper rush. He goes sniper opening. You don't build a barrack in that opening. You basically just build a generator, and then you get a bunch of scouts, and then you get snipers pretty early, let's say it like that. And then later on you can like get a barrack or whatever it is. And Mihalich has 2 of those games, so that's his approach on Blood River. But as you can see, no assault marines. Why is that? Because, well, many different reasons. One, the cover on this map is not that good. Like, there is some cover on the sides here, but most of the time when you're harassing, you're going to be in the enemy's base. and there's no cover in there. In fact, there's negative cover in there, which is not so good if you're trying to catch a bone singer in the river and you're taking so much damage from Eldar Firepower. Also, the points on this map is very close to each other. It's a very tight map, and it's also a map that you can bunker up. So even though it's pretty good for Space Marines to play this map, hence why I have a tendency to play this map a lot of times, hence why probably Beergard is playing this map a lot, is because it's a really good Space Marine map. But when you're playing against Eldar, it's not so fun anymore. And this is also one of the reasons why this matchup is very rough. Normal, traditional, good maps for Space Marines suddenly are bad maps because they're even better for Eldar specifically in this matchup. And yeah, you can't really go Assault Marines on this because you can't jump all over the place. So it's Sniper Rush or it's 4 Scouts, and those two are the most successful ones. I have seen Standard by Randall 4. It was decent, but yeah, it looked like you have to be the better player if you win Standard against Eldar. Meeting of Minds. So Meeting of Minds is, there's two approaches that I've seen. It's Assault Marines, which is the most used and it's the most successful. Why is that? Because there's a lot of terrain, as you can see here, but there's also a lot of heavy cover. There's a heavy cover right here on one of the points, the outer-ish points on the enemy base that you can harass. The relic is a little away from the base in general. There's also a strategic point over here, which is also very outside the base. And yeah, you can jump all over the place. Even here, there's some light cover right here, if you can see it. And so when you decap this point right here, it will be very helpful because you are using light cover, right? There's also heavy cover in here. And so it's really good for Assault Marines just in general. And also, when you're harassing the opponent, you have 5 points to sustain your Assault Marines, so you can just keep reinforcing a lot compared to other maps. So you have a little more good options. Just keep harassing, jump from outer point to outer point, maybe even get deep into the base, but be careful with that. I have also seen 4 Scout Buildorder. That was Marshes who did that. Again, capture your outer points, get into the enemy base with 2 scouts. In that specific game, it didn't go so well for him, but the idea is kind of the same. Get in there, harass, buy yourself time while you're checking yourself. And he won that game, by the way. He did really well, but the early game harass didn't go so well for him. Meeting of Minds looks like an Assault Marine build order, but if you're not doing that, I would probably recommend to go 4 scouts. Battle Marshes. Now, this one surprised me a lot, and maybe it's the games that I've watched. Maybe I just don't understand. But I thought Assault Marines is the way to go. But apparently, the only guy who thinks that's a good idea is Randall Thor. And I thought, that's a no-brainer, right? Split out points, terrain-heavy map. I've seen many, like, I've seen Tau do it with Vespids. I've seen Dark Eldar do it with Hellions. It's a classic jump, harass, like Chaos with Raptors. It's a classic jumping map, but apparently not. The most normal approach on this map is apparently Eco Boom. I was shocked. I thought, nah, All-Seeing Eye, that guy, yeah, he will definitely go Assault Marines. Nope. He went Barrack, Generator, LP2 Mass. Marcy did the same thing. All-Seeing Eye had a little bit more army than Marcy had, but it's kind of shocking that the most normal approach was actually Generator opening with Eco Boom. I will admit, I actually don't know why. I don't know why. If any pro players know why they would do this, and I'm gonna show you a version of this, why you would do this, then please tell me, because I actually don't know why. Why would you do this? But yeah, that's what I saw. If you are not comfortable with the Eco Boom build order, which I would understand if you're not, then just go Assault Marines, because it seemed like that was completely fine. But yeah, the most normal one is Eco Boom. played by both All Seeing Eye and Marcy. I haven't seen Mihalej play on this map, but yeah, that's what I saw. Alright, we're gonna pause the video just for a second here. Upon editing this video, I have looked through some more Battle Marshes games by All Seeing Eye, and I can conclude that the way that I'm representing him here is wrong. In fact, he actually mainly goes Assault Marines. So I've watched 5 extra games of Battle Marshes, and I realized that for the most part he goes Assault Marines as well. I did also see some standard build order, a single one. Now I didn't deeply analyze it, but I just wanted to like make sure that Eco Boom wasn't normal, or maybe it was normal, but I wanted to check. And what I realized was it was just a coincidence, the game that I chose. In reality, All Seeing Eye actually goes Assault Marines. Sometimes he goes standard. He mixes up a lot, but if I had to say one build order that he mainly uses, it's Assault Marines. Now let's go back to the video. Okay, we are really going through them all, right? So Tranquilitys End. This one seems a little iffy. I saw 2 Assault Marines opening by Randall Thor, and I think that this might be the best way to go. And then I saw Marcy, not Marcy, All Seeing Eye. He did the Eco Boom build order. Here it makes a little more sense, I would say. And then I also saw Randall Thor do a standard opening. It didn't go so well for him, I would say, but the reason why Assault Marines would be good here is there is a decent amount of terrain. It's pretty good, especially if you harass the enemy base and the points are very spread out. But it's also a map with a lot of negative cover, which is not so good if you get caught in those areas. Granted, it's only one of the strategic points, which is this one down here, or this one up here. That's a little risky, but you will get in situations where you'll chase people in negative cover, and that's not good if you're playing against Eldar with a lot of firepower. Randall 4 is a really, really good player, so he did win, and he did struggle, but he lost one of the games, and it's just a very rough map. It looks rough, I will just say that. And it's hard for me to really see, is it just because the pro players are really good and they'll win anyway, or is it because Assault Marines might not be the most optimal one? All Seeing Eye, he lost a game where he went Eco Boom, but I could see it work because Assault Marines seems a little risky, and maybe bunkering up a little bit might actually work. But yeah, this does not look like a good map, I will say that. Granted, I've only seen 4 games, and only 1 win for Space Marines, and that was Assault Marines. So maybe my sample size isn't the best, but this does not look like a good map for Space Marines. I'll just say that. And in theory, it makes sense because the terrain is not that ridiculous, and there's a lot of negative cover, so it makes sense that Eldar would do pretty well on this map. Titan's Fall. Titan's Fall is a no-brainer. Everyone, Randall Thor especially, thinks Assault Marines is the best way to go. I've also seen All Seeing Eye go Assault Marines. I also saw All Seeing Eye try to do a Sniper Mass. That didn't go well, but that was also an unlucky game. So I didn't really know if it was a good or not. But I'll just say he did try to go Sniper Mass, and maybe it might actually work. But the reason why Assault Marines are really good is because spread out points again. You have one right here on the side, and then one here, and then you have one somewhere here, and then one here. And it's a very big map. There's a bunch of terrain that you can jump over as Assault Marines. So it's really good, I would say, in general. So Assault Marines is kind of a no-brainer on this map, I feel like. And Randall Thor definitely agrees with me. He thinks this is the best. All Seeing Eye did it as well. But yeah, I don't see this map that often, but that's kind of the consensus. Outer Reaches. This is the best map that you can have. So if you play a best of 5 as Space Marines and you have to pick a map, you should for sure choose Outer Reaches. Outer Reaches is the best map against Eldar as Space Marines. Why? Because it is there is terrain everywhere, and pretty much every single thing that's flat is basically just like small corridors through the terrain. So it's basically like probably the most terrain heavy map. It has a shitload of heavy cover, and so it's really rough for Oh, and I'm not done yet. Spread out points. Only one in the base, and then one here in the corner, and then one here outside your base, and then one randomly in the middle, and then two up here, and the relic are also away from the base. It's a very spread out, chaotic map. You can't really bunker up in this map. So if you play against jumping units on this map and you don't have jumping units yourself, aka Eldar, then you're a little bit f***ed. I will say that. You have to run all around all the stones and the mountains and everything, and they just jump over the whole thing. So it's a rough map. This is the only map where I will for sure say Space Marines is favored. This one is rough for Eldar, and you should win this if you are Space Marines. And what is the approach? Well, except for Marcy, who thinks that Eco Boom is completely fine on this map. I think he tried to surprise him. He tried to surprise Rum Reese's that he played against. I'm not sure. We are going to watch that game later on. But everyone else, no question, no doubt in their mind, and not in my mind either, Assault Marines is the way to go. And it's such a no-brainer to go Assault Marines here. Please do that, guys. It's the best map that Space Marines have against Eldar. Okay, Quest Triumph. Now, this is what I would call Outer Reaches Light, because there is a lot of terrain here as well. The cover is a little more like light cover, I think. I think it's light cover though, so it's not heavy cover. And the points are a little more close to each other, but they're still, like, a lot of them are outside the base, and the relic is also tiny bit exposed. And yeah, so this map is kinda Outer Reaches, but a less extreme version of this. I would also say this is slightly SM favored. This is a complete no-brainer. Everyone goes Assault Marines. Randall, Thor, Mihalij, All-Seeing Eye, they all go Assault Marines. So this is a clear Assault Marine build order. Fallen City. Now, I will just put a disclaimer out here. Fallen City is not a map I see often, but when I see it, it's Assault Marines all the way. Why is that? Because it has a lot of terrain. There is some heavy cover, light cover here and there, so for that, it's pretty good for Assault Marines. And it has a river right in the middle, so there's good ways to jump. Let's just say it like that. It's a good jumping map, and so Assault Marines is kind of a no-brainer. I did see Randall Ford try to do a version of standard build order where he went standard but then upgraded very early sniper mass. It didn't look that good for him. It was a very rough game for him, so I would just say Assault Marines, but I'm not sure obviously. But the only successful games I've seen, and yes, I have a very small sample size, is Assault Marines. And Randall, Thor, and All-Seeing Eye both went Assault Marines. Now, it's funny, on this map, All-Seeing Eye went a very offensive version of Assault Marines. I think he tried to surprise the opponent, but yeah, that's what he actually went. I will talk about that version as well of Assault Marines. Last map, Shrine of Excellion. This is probably the worst map for Space Marines. 5 points, really good for Eldar. It's a flat map pretty much all the way. Sure, there's like a little terrain in the middle and shit, but it's not a very terrain heavy map. It's a relatively flat map. The heavy cover there is kinda in awkward spots if you're playing Assault Marines. The points there is very tight to each other. They're very close to each other, so they're easy to defend, so jumping units aren't the best on this map. It's also a relatively short map, so I've even seen like Eldar just rush Space Marines. It's a rough map, let's just say it like that. And this is such a rough map that they don't go Assault Marines whatsoever, just like Blood River. But I've only seen one Assault Marine build order. That was the Rush version, and it was Randall Thor. He tried to like surprise the opponent, And it did look like the opponent was like, oh my god, what the hell? Why are you going Assault Marines? And it did not go so well for him in the end. The best version is probably 4 scouts on this map. So you capture the outer points here, and then you go in with the scouts. Mihalej, he even went a sniper version, where he went sniper rush, and we will probably watch that video as well, because it was a great game, and he just rushed his opponent, even though he did actually have problems within that game. And then the other thing that I've seen the most is standard build order. So I've seen All Seeing Eye go standard build order, and I've seen Randall Thor go standard build order. The difference between Randall Thor and All Seeing Eye is that Randall Thor, he gets a turret. He captures his first side here. That's at least kind of the pattern that I've seen. And then he tries to get the other points over here as well, but then builds a turret right after his barrack. He does that on Blood River as well, and it's probably because he's very afraid of getting like harassed early. So he just gets a turret. All Seeing Eye, he goes a little more offensive. He just goes like standard, and then he transitions into some kind of rush where he just gets 4 Space Marine squads, and he even goes even further. He gets like the cap increase on Assault Marines, or not Assault Marines, just infantry in general, and he just attacks Eldar. And it feels to me, whenever standard build order is being played, it kind of feels like you outplayed your opponent, or you surprised your opponent. It feels like the Space Marine player is just way better than the Eldar guy. That's kind of the 2 situations I've seen. Standard build order wasn't very successful, by the way. It won 2 out of 5 times, and every single time it won, it was either because I just outplayed this guy so bad, or yeah, I surprised this really good player. He didn't see it coming, that I went straight for a standard build order. And so, yeah, he got surprised by that. That's the only time. Otherwise, standard build order usually lose. That's what I've seen. And I've seen 8 games on this map. So the most times I've seen is probably standard build order. But I think the most successful ones are Sniper and Scout. 4 scouts. But yeah, it's hard to say. This is a very rough map. Now, let's go into the build orders themselves. Okay. Right. Am I even recording now? Okay, I'm recording. Thank you. Well, sorry guys. I have to re-record the whole thing. Or the second part of this whole video. Some few things got messed up, and yeah, my video, I don't know what happened with it. It was uneditable. Yeah, some technical issues that I don't understand, and I have to re-record the whole thing. So here we are again. What I also realized that I can't stream my own games because my computer is not strong enough. Yes, I do play on a toaster. I do record stuff on a toaster. I even have a toaster mic, so I'm sorry about that, guys. So what we have to do instead is, and I actually like this because then I can shout out the people who make really good content on YouTube when it comes to Dawn of War, is that we have to watch YouTube instead. Yay, YouTube. And the first game that we're going to watch is a game on Astro Heroes' second channel called Warhammer 40k Veteran. Link is down and below. This is his second channel, and on that channel he just casts a lot of games that isn't his own. On Astro Hero, it's mainly his own games, I think. He is, in my opinion, the best caster in Dawn of War history. There you go. I just said it. I know a lot of people will say, well, what about Mr. Landshark? I think Mr. Landshark is probably the most well-spoken one. I think he's really, really entertaining, but I think the most, shall we say, knowledgeable one is definitely Astro Hero. There's another guy, and we're going to watch his videos as well, who might be really close to contesting him, but I think Astro Hero takes it to a new level. He's super knowledgeable about the game. He knows a lot of history about the game, and yeah, he goes over pro games, a lot of pro player games, even very old replays and stuff. In this game, we're going to watch Mihalich versus USSR AS. This is a best of 3, and right now it's 1-1. I can't remember which tournament it is, but it doesn't matter. And Mihalich is going to play Outer Reaches, and he's going to, spoiler alert, completely dominate AS. I will recommend you guys to watch this game. I would recommend you to watch all the YouTube games that I'm showing you here. But yeah, we are going to talk about the Assault Marine build order. Let's just introduce it as of now. Let's just do it. So the Assault Marine build order is basically you get a you get your servitor, the first one you have, you build a barrack. You get that barrack up to 700 HP, and then you stop building on that and you instead switch to building an armory. Out of your HQ, you get a servitor, and that servitor, you put a rally point on your barrack so the servitor can finish that barrack. What will happen if you do this, and 700 HP, by the way, is kind of an estimate. You have to feel the flow yourself. You have to try it yourself and see what fits. But what will happen is both of these buildings will be finished at the same time. And because you have the armory now, you can build assault marines. So as soon as you get both buildings finished, you get assault marines instant. From there, you get 3 LPs at least, and then you can get the 3rd assault marines. Usually it would be you're trying to build the 4th LP, or at least, and this is the latest, after you build the 4th LP, you get the 2nd assault marines. So it can be before the 4th, it can be while you're building the 4th, it can be after you have built the 4th, but you should be getting the 2nd assault marine squad. You can get an optional turret. That turret can be right after you have built your first LP. It can be right after you have built your barrack and armory, and again you have to feel for it. If it's possible for you not to finish the turret, so that would be that your servitors can do something while still being close by the turret, you don't have to finish the turret, so you can cancel it in case it's not useful. Why is the turret useful sometimes? Well, it's if you really want to secure a position. For example, in the middle of Outer Reaches, there is a position that can be good to have a turret. But it could also be to get to secure a position which is the relic, and it detects stealth, so rangers will have a tough time against a turret. Space Marine turret is not the best turret. In fact, you could argue maybe it's the weakest. I'm not sure about that actually, but it's not strong. But if it's used correctly on a good place, it's completely fine to get a turret. After the 2nd assault marine squad, you build up all your listening posts, and you get either tactical space marines, or you get a force commander, or maybe you get a mix between them. So instead of 2 space marine squad, you get 1 force commander, and then you get a space marine squad. By the way, the space marine squad should have flamers because that deals a lot of damage, and we will see that in another game. Or you do as Mihalich does here, get some generators and then tech. That's the options you have. When do you try to get the Force Commander and the Space Marines? Well, you do that if you think you can do a lot of damage or maybe even finish off Eldar. Eldar does not have a tier 1.5, and if you get flamers and you get some upgrades on the Space Marines and you go all in at tier 1.5, you can try and finish off Eldar because they won't have upgrades themselves. At least you deal enough damage to them. We will see that later. If you think that you can get away with teching, then you do that. If you see an opening and the Eldar is so busy that you can probably out-tech Eldar, then you do that where you build 2 generators and then get a 3rd while teching. Like, that's kind of the idea behind if you want to tech. You can also, I've seen it 2 times, 2 or 3 times, I can't remember. It usually isn't very successful because, yeah, well, I've seen it have some success. You could also alternatively get snipers after you have gotten the Assault Marines. The few times I've seen that work is because the Eldar sometimes responds very very where they get 2, maybe 3 Dark Reaper squads fully reinforced. They just go all in and then they do a counterattack on you where they just siege your base. And your Assault Marines have to retreat because they're getting overwhelmed. And what happens then is that Eldar will have such a big army, but you can counter that with snipers. So if you anticipate that the Eldar is going to do a very, very, in my opinion, desperate response, which is just get a shit ton of Dark Reapers, then it's really good to get snipers. I didn't know that this was a strategy, but you can get snipers, but you have to read the room or the game a little bit to see that that is actually what Eldar is trying to do right now. I've only seen it 3 times, so it's very rare. So this is what you probably could do, but I haven't really seen it much, and even when I've seen it, it's not really working. So, but I would say theoretically it could work, right? That was the 4 options. So Force Commander, Space Marine Squad with flamers, snipers, or plasma generators and tech. That's the 4 options you have. The Force Commander and Space Marines, you can kind of mix those 2 together. And I guess there's other options, but that's the main options I've seen Assault Marine build order do. The other thing I will say is there's also a very offensive version of this, and I've seen it 2 times and it didn't work, but I think it could in theory work. Is where you get 2 scouts, only 2 scouts, and then you build a listening post, just 1, and you build 2 Assault Marines straight after each other. Where if you do it normally, you would have to get some delay to get the Assault Marines, but if you do this, which seems super risky, you get 2 Assault Marines right after each other. That will be very, very, very annoying for Eldar, but I'm not sure if it's the best because you're delaying your own economy. The idea of Assault Marines seems to be not to win the game with Assault Marines, but buy time with the Assault Marines, to harass and suppress Eldar's upcoming tier 2. And it's to make sure that you as the Space Marine player have the initiative, because if Eldar is on the offense, Eldar will win. But if you just go face first with the Space Marine Assault Marines, you try to like buy yourself time, harass Eldar, annoy Eldar, make sure that they have to like always run and kite and all of that jazz, right? Then you can see, can I finish this guy, or can I out-tech this guy, or is he going to do a brutal counterattack right now and go all in, desperate all in counterattack? Okay, I get some snipers now, right? So that's kind of how you read it. But if you go this offensive version where you get 2 Assault Marines first, you delay yourself from tanking or doing anything that I've just told you, that get 1.5 or get some sniper. You delay all of that. You delay teching at least, and you just get more Assault Marines to buy even more time. I guess you can surprise people, but the only I've only seen it 2 times, and I've watched more than 50 games. So I don't think it's a very viable way to go, but you can try it, because I'm not going to deny it. I've only seen it 2 times, so maybe it works. So I just wanted to shout out that way of playing Assault Marines. But we're going to watch this game. Shout out to Astro Hero for this build, or this, wow, I'm really misspeaking right now. This is the second time recording, sorry guys. Shout out to Astro Hero for recording this video and casting it. Go watch his this game. I'm gonna put everything down, link everything. So this is the standard build order for Eldar. They get 2, sometimes they get 3 Guardians. When they get 3 Guardians, it's because it's a big map. And they do this build order every single time. Get Rangers. Right. And there are very rarely exceptions to this. Right, so this is the 2 buildings that you need. Getting Assault Marines. And Mahalish is getting his first LP2. Well, not first LP2, but he's getting, on top of that, he's getting this LP. Getting Assault Marines, get in there and do some harassment. Oz is actually already now doing a counter attack, and he probably sees this coming, so this could be a smart idea. You see here that Mihalish is getting a turret, and he's getting this turret. Usually he would build it close alongside a relic to make sure that he can secure that relic, as I told you, but he also gets it on specifically outer reaches. He gets it here because he can secure this position, which is the middle point that everyone is fighting over, at least in theory, in outer reaches. So this is a very important place to put a turret if you want to. In theory, on this map, you can go on top up here and then fight the opponent if you don't want to destroy this turret. That might actually be a good strategy to do a counter attack. So it's not lost if you lose this point, but it is a point that people are fighting over. So this might actually be a good turret, and the turret takes stealth. The assault marines are going in here, and they are attacking right here. Now you might be like, what, these assault marines aren't really doing anything, right? They're just like, right now they have broken morale and stuff. Yes, that's true. But what is happening right now is these rangers aren't in Mihalish's base. Yes, there's guardians in his base, and it's super annoying, but those aren't really one-shotting scouts, right? So this is really good because it means that Eldar has to defend himself. Now, you will also see a really good thing with assault marines on this map is that these assault marines will be able to jump all the way on the map. Now they jump these Eldar on the side here. Well, I hope you saw it. But the point is that Eldar can't really counter that. Like, yes, he used 2 jumps, but he pretty much jumped 80% distance from one side to the other side of the map, which is like ridiculous on a map with so much terrain, right? So this is really bad because Eldar can't catch that. And I will recommend you guys to watch this game yourself because it's a very chaotic game. I can't remember it entirely, but that's how Outer Reaches is. It's a very intense map, and a lot of things happen. So it's one reason why I like this map is because it's very macro intense. Because there are many places on this map, and you can lose very easily if you don't have the full helicopter view, so to say. So it's very macro intense, but it's also very micro intense on the same time. So it's a very fun map if you ask me. By the way, even though this is a really cool map for Space Marines against Eldar, it's not a fun Space Marine map against Dark Eldar, and I still love this map because it's so fun to play. It might be my favorite map personally. Mihalish, he goes back because he realizes that the Eldar units are destroying his trying to destroy his economy, and he prioritizes jumping back to the Eldar, and it makes so Eldar can counterattack. It's really annoying. So you can argue maybe this is a mistake of Mihalish. I'm not sure. I'm not too super good, but the idea is still jump around with assault marines and do some damage. And that LP actually got finished. Annoying. Space Marines will keep on harassing. He still only have 1 assault marine squad, by the way. And in this specific game, probably because he built a turret, and also because Eldar is really harassing him, he got the 2nd assault marine after LP, the 3rd LP. He's getting the 2nd assault marine as of now. If you just saw, you can see it right here. He's getting it. And this is very normal. The assault marines are very annoying against Eldar because Eldar has to always try and not do melee against the assault marines, which is very, very rough. They will die very fast. And that means that they have to turn on and off Fleet of Foot because they basically don't deal damage if it's on, but they don't run fast if it's not on. So Fleet of Foot can be very, very annoying for Eldar to put on, and they have to make sure that their units don't die. Mihalish, he gets around 4 minutes or 4.5 minutes, he start building a skull probe. This is very normal for every single Space Marine build order. It doesn't matter what build order, because it's stealth detection, right? A really important note about the games that I've seen about Skull Probe for Space Marines is that they don't attach it to any units, and that's actually because that Skull Probe is actually really annoying when you have it attached, especially on tactical Space Marines, which is the exception. Sometimes Space Marines actually do that, but they don't attach it to the squads, the scouts. Sorry, probably because scouts aren't that super tanky and they can die pretty easily, and you don't want to suicide them. And you rather want good positioning of these skull probes than making exactly sure that the skull probes survive. That's at least what I've seen. But that's a skill in of itself, microing this skull probe, and it's really, yeah, it's something you need to get to used to. I'm not used to it myself, but yeah, the Space Marine players, they don't necessarily attach the skull probe to anything. They would rather get a good position of the skull probe and micro it correctly than put it on many Space Marine squads. But the exception is that they put it sometimes on Space Marine squads to get some tankiness out of it. That's fine. Although they don't get it on scouts, though. I have rarely seen that. It's very rare that I see that, actually. As he gets, oh, sorry. There's a lot of things going on. I'm sorry. I can't remember everything about this game. Oz is getting Dark Reapers right now, and he probably gets that because he sees that Mihalich has 2 Assault Marines now. He has to do something and respond to something. Meanwhile, Mihalich is getting... come on. 2 things that's happening here. He's getting 2 power generators and pretty much built them right after each other. Pretty much. And then he gets this invisible skull probe upgrade before tier 2 actually. And that's really good because you're basically giving Eldar their own medicine. Get this upgrade if you want these skull probes, because it makes it so they are even harder to kill for Eldar. So get it preferably before tier 2. Mihalich, this is the Tekken version, right? So now he has now he has the 2 generators, and what you will see here is, you can probably see it up here, I think. Now you see his power. Bam. Now it's all the way down to 23. That's because as of now, 6:15 into the game, he's teching right now. I wouldn't say this is super early, but it's definitely not late to tech right now. And he's even getting a 3rd power generator right now. So that's pretty good. And he's going to outtech us so bad. He's now searching himself, because this is also very important when you do this build order. He's now searching for, is Eldar doing tier 2 themselves? And I think he actually finds it. I can't remember. But the point is, you do scan around. Does he have tier 2? Is he going tier 2? Eldar sometimes go very early tier 2. They sometimes get it like around 4:30. They start building it. That's rare. It's usually after 5 minutes. That's more likely. Around 6 minutes, they're probably getting it. So you have to search for it at that time. See, okay, is this Eldar player actually trying to like tech himself? And the Assault Marines is looking for the build. Yeah, he finds it. I remember now. He finds it. And the Assault Marines are just running around, and Eldar has to catch them sometimes. And they are interrupting builders, they're killing builders, they are decapping if possible, they are killing units that's trying to cap and then interrupt the capping. Az is getting the Farseer, which is very expensive, by the way. And he gets mines as well. That's a really good counter against this Assault Marine build order. He gets mines over here, you can see that. Mihalich is winning the whole map, by the way, and he even drops turrets on top of Az, which is really cool. It's a good way of blocking your opponent when they're just running all the time. And it's not bug abuse. It's not like pathing when you drive your vehicles into the enemy units. Now, in this case, and you don't, by the way, this is when you know this is pure domination. Mihalich has the control taken hold. So that just means he's completely, he's demolishing us in this game. He went Sacred Artifact and Chaplain and stuff. You can do the vehicle version, but in this case, Mihalich goes Chaplain and Grey Knights and stuff. That's an option against Eldar. We will get to tier 2 later in the video. But that's the tech version. Now I'm gonna show you the tier 1.5 version. Okay, so this is going to be Alex UK. He is, in my opinion, the second best caster, and I think he's pretty fine with being number 2 in this case. He's doing also really good casting, and he's a UK guy, obviously. And I think Astro Hero is a Necron main, and I'm pretty sure Alex UK is an Imperial God main, so they have different experiences in this game. And Alex UK, he's great. He has sometimes just as horrible of a mic as I have. So shout out to him. I feel your pain, Alex. But I think his mic actually got better later on, so that's my bad. But this is the tier 1.5 version, and again, we will speed through it. But this is just to show you the alternative version. So same build order for Eldar. This time he gets 2 Guardians because this is a smaller map. I guess that's the idea of 2 Guardians. And then Mihalich also only gets 2 Scouts. But then he gets, you can see here, he builds them on the same time. In the way that I told you. Alex UK is changing his options, I guess. And I think what Mihalich does is immediately try to build a turret close to his relic. Yeah, he's running down now with the servitors. I remember this game a little more clearly because I watched it not that long ago in preparing for this video. Obviously Eldar is going Rangers because why not? That's what they always do. And he gets Dark Reapers. So he's not going as teching as you sometimes do as Eldar in this game. Alex, or not Alex, Mihalich is scanning the... Wow. Mihalich is scanning what's going on in this game. Where does he capture? Where does he not capture? So he's trying to figure out what is happening right now. Mihalich also didn't finish his turret. Why can he do this? And not on outer reaches? Well, because his builders are just close. He's building an LP right here, so he don't have to finish it, right? Why is that important? Because if Eldar is not doing a counterattack, then you can cancel this and then get an assault marine or whatever you want to do. Probably an assault marine. He's getting in here, and he could attack these bone singers, right? But I think his idea is, well, they will probably just run away and I won't be able to do enough damage to them, so I just want to jump over here to see what is going on. Is someone capping over here, or like he just want to have a full overview. So sometimes information is really good with this build order, so you can scan what's going on. So he's jumping away from here, and yeah, Eldar's not attacking him. So I think he cancels this turret very soon. Because they're busy with these assault marines. They're doing damage. And instead, now you can see here, I remember this. He cancels this turret, and you will see up here, now he's building another assault marines instead. You can see it right here. So this is really good. This is really good so far. Right, just fly around. Figure out what's going on. Is there a bone singer? Can I fuck him up? Nope. I personally, I think this is a mistake, but maybe it's because he's afraid of the firepower. I would have probably been down here and do some more harass, but Mihalich is a legend, so I won't argue with him. He's going plasma generator. This is probably the only building you can really go all in with the assault marines, because it's very squishy building, and I don't remember the armor type, but yeah, whatever. It's possible to destroy this, but I would probably have been down here and do some annoying stuff. Because what this is like, Eldar can breathe now. Eldar doesn't have to think. Eldar can just, oh, now he's going for my generator. And then Eldar will probably get over here. And then Mahalish, he jumps, where is he going? Now he jumps down here, I think. No, he's attacking with the other assault marine. Okay, so he's still denying the relic though. That's pretty good. And just, this is super good, right? He might not be able to kill a single Eldar because Oz is just running with fleet of foot. But Eldar's not attacking him. And he's building his economy in this whole time. So this is good. This is really good. That's the whole point. Buy time. Try to suppress Eldar. Do some damage if possible. Don't overextend. That's the most important thing. Don't overextend. Oz is trying to get out of his base, trying to do something because he realizes that if he just tries to be defensive only, then Space Marines will out-tech him and win. So he's trying to do some counterattacks here and there and not lose the map completely. That's good. And now Mahalish is getting, he's already close to getting a Force Commander, but he's also getting the Plasma Generator. And right after, you will see, he will get a Tactical Space Marine Squad. Yeah, it's building right now. And that Tactical Space Marine Squad will have some Flamers on. You will see soon why that might actually be a good idea. Mahalish, the worst thing Mahalish can do is lose his Assault Marines or get a squad wipe. Mahalish is, okay, he actually cancelled that, but at some point Mahalish will try to tech even more. So the idea is try to suppress Eldar as much as possible. Meanwhile, you're trying to build up so you can get tier 2, and you're distracting Eldar all this time, and then you're trying to like get to tier 2 before them, or at least the same time, and then try to beat them that way. But this version is possible to actually finish off Eldar if Eldar isn't careful. This is a very offensive version. And what Mahalish is also doing while getting these Space Marines is getting Bionics and Plasma Gun. If you watch this game yourself, you can see it. You can see that he has upgrades on it. Now, as he is getting, he's getting Soul Shrine. Mahalish is going all in now. He has a lot of Assault Marines and stuff. These Flamers are doing so much damage to Eldar units right here. And what he does, oh, he finds tier 2, so this is, oh, this feels bad for us. What the Assault Marines and the Force Commander as well can do now is, you can see Force Commander already has the Plasma Pistol, and I can tell you that the Space Marines are also having Bionics, which makes them tanky. Especially the Assault Marines are really happy about that because they can sustain the firepower coming their way. These Flamers can actually do economy damage. They can destroy generators pretty fast, way faster than the Assault Marines. So this is, if it's possible for you, really, you can probably even finish off Eldar. If the Eldar player is good, he will survive this. As you can see how much damage that actually deals. Mahalish is getting so many upgrades. He's even getting grenades now. And he's getting another Plasma Generator. Is this the second one? I think it's his second. Yeah, it is his second. Right? The downside of this is you delay your teching a little bit because you're investing so much in all-inning on tier 1.5. You could do this, as I told you, because Eldar does not have a tier 1.5. And now he's destroying the economy, which is really good. And you will see a small mistake that Mahalish is doing here. Not a small mistake, it's potentially a huge mistake. He's decapping this point here. This is really good. And then he overextends. And the Farseer comes in, makes a great ability here, does a lot of damage. Force Commander is taking too much damage as well. Mahalish is not controlling these units good enough. And there's too much firepower right now. He almost lost a whole squad. But you see here, like, the Tactical Space Marines are still doing damage. So the idea is still Assault Marines buy time. Meanwhile, these guys are actually destroying the base. Right? So that's the idea behind this. Mahalish overextended. So, and I'm not going to go through with this game anymore, because otherwise this video will be hours and hours and hours and hours long. So it's just to show you the principles and the order, build order. But Mahalish actually gets here, and he has to retreat. And what Marshes does is he ends up retreating, trying to tech, and then beat Eldar again because he's still ahead. He still has like the initiative, but he can't finish the game, and he potentially, he definitely overextended here. And so this build order is pretty good because it's not the end of the world if Eldar is actually pushing you back. Don't panic. Don't overextend. Don't try to like, no, I have to finish him now. No, you don't have to. Just relax, retreat, recover, get tier 2, beat him again. Yeah, I think that's going to be the Assault Marine build order. I need to go to the next build order, but that's the principles of this build order. I hope it was okay that I used YouTube. I'm sorry guys, I can't stream my own games. I'm actually very sorry for that, but this is what I had to do, and I hope that it was good enough. You can you can put questions down in the comment section. Don't worry about it. I'll answer anything. But yeah, this is the Assault Marine build order. It's probably the best, at least on the correct maps. Let's get to the next build order, which is my second favorite build order, and I think it's also the second most successful I've seen. But yeah, let's get to it, guys. Alright, on to the next build order. So this is kinda like standard build order, but this build order you don't open up 2 scouts or 3 scouts, you open up 4 scouts. Now, this build order is, in my opinion, a really strong Space Marine build order. It kinda uses the same principles as I told you with the standard build order, but this is the better version of it, specifically against Eldar. We're going to watch a game. I can't remember this game very well. It was one of the first games I watched in doing research for this video. But I do remember Marshes went for 4 scout build order. What the principles of that is, you basically open up 4 scouts, and then you get the servitor. So you get scouts before you get the servitors. The first 2 scouts you get captures outer points, and then they go into the enemy base. The second servitor gets out after all the scouts, and you build, the first building is barrack, and out of that barrack you get force commander. It's kind of like building the generator a little bit. You kind of have to go force commander in this situation. I guess there's nuance and things where you would say, well, you don't have to go the force commander, but I think force commander is the best because the scouts are really good at harassing. Scouts are a little underrated, I feel like, because they actually have okay HP, and they are very fast. They have good utility. They're really good units, but it's true that they do lack in just pure fighting power. And there it can be good to have a force commander to like almost compensate for that. The force commander has everything that the scouts have, but the scouts also have everything that the force commander don't have. So it's a really good combination, I think. And what you will see is that the scouts will do a lot of harassment in the Eldar base, or at least try to do. Again, much like the normal Space Marine or the Assault Marine build order, you try to buy yourself time. You try to hold down Eldar and annoy Eldar. After that, you build up your listing post. You get 3-4 of them, and then maybe you get a turret after that. For example, on a relic, you could get the turret before that. You don't necessarily have to do it, but I'm just saying you can get the turret. And then, after you got the 4 LPs, maybe you get 5, depends a little bit on the situation, but then you get a plasma generator. Then you can go 2 tactical Space Marines, because hopefully you still have your force commander alive. Then maybe, which is recommended because it probably is something you have to do, maybe you get snipers. You can do that because you have so many scouts. Spoiler alert, this is why you don't lose scouts early game, because if you do lose scouts early game, you won't have this option. Obviously, if you get scout training, you have to get some sniper upgrades for the scouts, and you will then have a situation where you have 2, maybe 3 tactical Space Marines, and then you have some snipers. And that combination of army is a very powerful army. It's a really good army against other races like orcs, for example. It can be good against chaos. Like getting a bit of a Space Marine mass and some scouts in the back line. It's really, really, really good. So it's like standard build order, but you have 4 scouts instead. So it's a little more aggro version of it. Oh, and obviously you get into teching as well as you would do in standard build order. So you would get a second plasma generator, you would get an armory while teching. You tech after the second or maybe the third plasma generator. Again, it depends. And obviously you get the armory and some upgrades on that armory while teching. So yeah, we will watch this game. So this is Shrine of Excellion. This is also the reason why I show it. You can't, well, I guess you can, but it's not, I don't think it's optimal to go Assault Marines. So this is probably the build order I would recommend to do on this map specifically. Eldar, classic opening, three Guardian squads. Why? Because 5 strategic points, right? Eldar sometimes actually rushes the Space Marine guy. So I've seen Randall 4, for example. He just went like turret, and he just built it right here in the middle. Or right now, Marcy is capturing the points here on the side, on the left side, or I guess for you this is left. Whatever. On the scouts are capturing right now over here. So Randall 4 would probably build the turret where he's least capturing points, because he would be afraid of getting attacked by Eldar early game. I don't think you have to do this when you play 4 scouts, but whatever. And you can see right here, the first 2 scouts captures the outer points. Please, okay, so you can see it here, right here. That's the first 2 scouts. The third will get over here and probably capture the one on the back, and then the 4th scout will probably capture this. It depends a little bit, but the idea is the first 2 captures the outer points and then get into the opponent's base and attacks, and then the 2 scouts left behind will capture the rest of the points. And you obviously have to get LPs, and and obviously get the force commander here. For the person who's a little sharp, you will see a Space Marine cap increase. Don't worry, he definitely cancels that one. As you can see, Force Commander and Marcy is now going to get his first LP, and he's also getting his second LP soon. Right? So it's a pretty good opening, I think. Now he's getting into the enemy base with scouts, and if he had an opportunity, right? So here he could have, for example, decapped this. And Reaserch, I haven't said that. His opponent is Reaserch, legendary Eldar player. So this is no joke. This is not, well, USSR Oz is also a really good player, but Reaserch, it's no joke. Like, I think there was a point where he had 4 accounts in the top 50. And he hadn't been playing on those accounts in like a year or something. They were still on top. It was ridiculous. Reaserch is really good Eldar player, legendary, at least in a modern context, a legendary player. So this is no joke, right? And Marcy went in here and he tried to decap something here. He was waiting for a decap. Reaserch was like, nah, I'm not having this, so I'm just firing back on these scouts. But he still had to cancel it, right? So that's a win. And the thing is about this build order is the scouts, you have to realize, even though they're more tanky than people give them credit for, they're still pretty easy to kill. Just so you have to get experienced with this. Now Reaserch is getting in his with his 3rd squad. Okay, that's an even more offensive version than this. He gets in here and he decaps, right? Right? Nice. Another thing, I don't think I've said this in my former video. I can't remember it. But if you go up to a strategic point and it's about to be captured, and all you do is just right click on that mother, I'm not finishing that word, but right click on that MFer, right? No matter if he has a builder who's left clinging like a you will still win. You will win that duel. You would win that race. You insta decap, and he will not be able to build in time. I have tried this with my one of my friends, where we tried to like, do you get this decapped fast enough? And I always won. I don't know if he just sucks at like left clicking, and I'm so good at right clicking. I don't know about that one, but I've seen every single time been in a position where I could decap, I always win the decap race. So, yep, just do that. And by the way, this is super annoying for Eldar. He got the outer point here, he got the other outer point here. Meanwhile, Marshes is just upgrading. He's just building his economy up. So this is, yeah, and you can see the the scouts are very, this probably weren't worth, I'm not gonna lie. But the idea is just buy yourself time. Now he's on the other side, right? I don't remember. I think Marcy actually dominated this game, or this best of 5 in general. And we will see another game, by the way, where Marcy, yeah, he does some interesting things. I will say that. He's on the other side here. He also builds a turret over here. You can see that. And what Marcy is doing is probably decap the other thing. Come on, Astro, let's see it. Okay. Does he suicide the squad though? Oh! No, he gets. Force Commander gets in here, destroys everyone. And the thing about the Force Commander in this matchup is that if you don't have a lot of DPS, right? Because right now Rumbrises has no Dark Reapers. Force Commander is brutal because these, yes, his morale might be broken by the Rangers, but they aren't really doing much damage to him. And he's just getting in here and he's destroying people, right? So he kind of compensates for what the Scouts doesn't have. He compensates with a lot of damage and power, and now he's getting in here and decapping as well. This is low-key trolling, I'm not gonna lie. Low-key, because he's kind of good, right? He's getting in here, and now he gets in with the so it's kind of like standard, right? You get the Force Commander, and then you get Space Marine Squad that you can see here. But the idea is you attack with the Scouts, try to buy yourself time. Maybe, I think Marcy is overdoing it a little bit, but he's definitely annoying Eldar, and Eldar is not counterattacking because he is so busy with Scouts just annoying him all the time. By the way, another thing is, get a bit of reinforcement of your Scouts if you need that, and sometimes don't overdo it, but sometimes if you're about to decap something, it's completely fine to just tank some damage and get a reinforcement model on the Scout and then get out and then survive. You need to be very careful with that, but I would say try to push your boundaries and see if you can survive that. You have to try it yourself, but there's no funny units here, right? There's no assault marines. There's no like funny business. This is very, very standard, and he's winning the map. And he's getting a generator, as you can see over here. So it's very much like standard right here. He gets a generator, and he's about to get his second Space Marine squad. Yeah, it is the second one. So, and he gets a skull probe as well. We all know why he's getting the skull probe, right, guys? By the way, as well, I just don't want to overcomplicate it. The one build order that you saw on the screen is not exactly this build order, but the concept will remain the same. And you always have to try, like I obviously really make some cookie cutter build orders, but it's just to give you a starting point, and you have to like modify it for yourself. There are a few differences in certain games that I'm watching, but the concept remains the same. Oh, nice. So Marcy did the exception that I told you guys about the skull probe. He actually attached it to the Scout, so obviously there are exceptions. But yeah, in general, they actually like to not attach it on certain units. They would rather have good micro for them. Now Marshes is getting some Dark Reapers, and he probably does that because he's under pressure right now. Marshes is dominating this game, and you can tell. And Marshes is so good, so this is very impressive. This best of 5 is probably, yeah, it's very. Now, Marcy has his 3rd Space Marine squad out here, and if he has that, that means he actually later on upgraded the infantry cap. He increased the infantry population cap. This is very normal. Now he just he tries to finish off the game, and I even think Marshes, I can tell on the game timer, he's quitting at this point. This is too much for him. Right. So 4 Scout Buildorder is very possible. I've seen this a lot on Blood River. Marcy, he actually does it on Meeting of Minds in this best of 5 as well. I think it's game 2. There he suicides his units a little bit, and he still wins. I guess he's just a Giga Chat. I don't know what the hell, but yeah, this is the 4 Scout Buildorder, and I would recommend everyone to get in. This is actually a more used build order. I've seen this a lot. I use it sometimes as well against orcs. It can work there. I've seen it against chaos because they have a lot of vulnerable units, and the scouts can actually kind of kill these units pretty easily. They can hunt down heretics and stuff. So 4 Scout build order, completely normal build order. Let's get to the next build order, shall we? Okay. Onto the last 2 build orders. So these 2 build orders are, in my opinion, more situational, or at least theoretically they're more situational. They depend a little bit on what the enemy Eldar is doing. A lot of the things I'm going to say about the next 2 build orders is, yeah, very theoretical, and the reason for that is because my sample size of these games are way less than the other 2 I've seen. I think they are kind of counters to what Eldar might do. So Eldar can either start Dark Reapers, which is rare the higher MMR we go, and they can start Rangers. Well, Dark Reapers are rare in this matchup the higher MMR we go. Eldar have kind of 2 extreme versions of their opening, so they can go Dark Reaper spam. Sometimes they might not even go a generator in that case, or they can go Rangers and only Rangers and just tech. Snipers counter Dark Reaper mass, and Rangers and tech gets countered by Eco Boom. And we will see both of them being played out. There are 2 games that you can watch. I'm going to show you the first one, which is on Astro Heroes channel, but I could also show you the one on Blood River where Az is going for Dark Reaper mass and Mihalich actually goes sniper. If I remember that game correctly, it's a little unlucky. There's a time where Mihalich actually is supposed to shoot some Dark Reapers. I'll probably show a little clip here where he's supposed to shoot some Dark Reapers, but his snipers 3 times in a row just misses. And yeah, Az is super lucky in that game in my opinion. But snipers are just the countered Dark Reapers. Obviously, this is a more skill required build order because it's very risky. It's very important you don't lose your scouts way too early. But what is the build order? Well, you open up 4 scouts. I have seen 5, but you open up 4 scouts. The first 2 you just YOLO into the enemy base, which means that the last 2 is going to be left behind and capture the map. So you don't even capture your outer points, you just YOLO into the enemy base. The other thing is the 2 ones that you YOLO into the base gets fully reinforced. After the 4 scouts you build a servitor. The first servitor you have just builds a plasma generator. That's it. No chapel barrack, no armory, nothing. Just plasma gen. Then you get 2 LPs, or the first 2 LPs you build, you instantly upgrade them. And the next 2 you build, you choose one of them to upgrade. You get a 5th LP, you probably upgrade a 4th one. Just get 5 LPs on all your points, depending on is it a relic or is it a 5th strategic point, doesn't matter, just get 5 LPs. Then you build a table barrack, you get sniper training. And then out of the table barracks, usually you would get something like a force commander, or you get a tactical space marine squad, and you obviously get sniper upgrades for your scouts. Then you go 2 generators extra and you get tier 2. And while teching, you get armory, get some upgrades, get 1, maybe 2 tactical space marines, and if you haven't already, get another force command, get the force commander. This build order is very reliant, or it's not very reliant, but it's reliant on the fact that you get a lot of good economy, and then try at least to get early tier 2. If you get earlier tier 2 than the Eldar player, you just mass land speeders, because they won't have any anti-vehicle, or not good anti-vehicle, before the fire dragons. And you can spam land speeders because they're very cheap and they're very fast to build, and you just murder Eldar. If he gets tier 2 pretty soon as well, just like you, that isn't necessarily bad news, but it just means you can't get land speeders. You probably should get Hellfire Dreadnoughts or anything like that. And we will later on in the video just talk about tier 2 just in general. The idea is if you can fast upgrade, you do that. If Eldar goes tier 2 the same time as you, that either meant that you messed up in the early game, or that the Eldar player is rushing tier 2 but don't really have the economy for tier 2, right? Because Eldar probably won't go anything like Eco Boom, unless he went something along the lines of Rangers, right? Rangers and nothing else, just Rangers. And I would say this build order might not be good against scaling build order Eldar. But take that with a grain of salt, because I haven't seen this build order a lot, and I haven't really, I really don't have a good sample size to say anything along those lines. So that's completely theoretical. I don't think it's good against Rangers, because Rangers do one-shot scouts, so, or they deal a lot of damage to scouts. So, yeah. But it's really good against Dark Reaper mass. But yeah, let's get into it, right? So, Maharlash versus Az again. Az is going standard. He gets 2 Guardians. Only 2 on this map, okay. Well, that's not completely on. Well, Eldar actually does that. Eldar has a tendency to not even get 3 Guardians, even on big maps. And he goes Rangers as usual, fleet of foot. Generator. Okay, classic opening. We are 45 seconds into the game, and at that time we saw some scouts. "44 seconds and we see some scouts fully reinforced." Maharlash was like, he literally put a rally point in Az's base and just fully reinforced the scouts going in. This means that the Rangers have to not capture some points, and the other ones are left behind to capture. He captures his outer points, and you can see here he only built a plasma generator. Sorry, I have to go back a little bit here. Right, so he only has a plasma generator, and only now he gets his second servitor. Okay. Maharlash does a thing here where I think this is very, very risky. He loses a whole scout squad. Now, this is, don't get me wrong, this is bad. He only got 1 decap. But he also made sure that 2 Guardians are not capturing any points. They are having to shoot his units. So that kind of compensates a little bit for losing 4 scouts. It's still horrible, but yeah. And now the Rangers are here, and you can see the Rangers are really good against scouts, right? But Maharlash keeps out the pressure, I guess. He overstays a little bit here, I think. Yep. Get out, Knowledge, get out. He still harasses. He needs to be careful about it though. Right, so here, you see here, he has his two first LPs. This one he upgrades. I think he upgrades the other one too. Yeah, he upgrades the other one too. So he instantly upgrades the first two. And if he can, he will keep on harassing. He probably does it here. Yeah, he's afraid of the Rangers, and he needs to respect the Rangers. And he gets to upgrade the third LP here. He doesn't upgrade the fourth, but that's because he lacks power. And oh, he actually upgrades the fourth. So my bad. He actually does that. Well, he doesn't necessarily have to do that because he in some cases you might need to get snipers as fast as you can, and that costs some power. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes you have to get earlier snipers, but he doesn't get it here, I guess, because he sees that the opponent has rangers, and rangers are a little more scaling, I guess. So that's why he's like, okay, I can eco boom a little bit more, and I don't have to get snipers immediately. But now he sees some Dark Reapers. This is so like Mahalish is in the enemy base. Keeps going in. I think he's losing way too many scouts, not gonna lie. Now he gets the Chapel Barrack. I think he chooses to go Space Marines. you see this, like, these Dark Reapers are literally just mass shooting on this generator, and it's like, don't get me wrong, like they still do damage, but it for what their average DPS is against infantry, this is pathetic. Now, out of the HQ, you can't see it right now, but there comes some snipers, sniper training. So now he gets sniper training, and then he gets some upgrades on his scouts. Sorry, I'm rambling a little bit, guys. I'm a little bit tired. Second recording, that's a hard one for me. Well, I'm making all the excuses now. Bam. That was one shot by... Wow, that's rough. That's really rough. So was that just the LP, or was it also some sniper shots? Was it more than just one sniper shot? It was 1, 2... Gets a third shot. I could actually see it. Third shot. So he almost wiped the whole thing with LP's help. LP2 help. So here's the thing, right? Look at Mahalish's economy. Yes, he lost a generator. So maybe he should have had 104 plus 10 power. Plus 20 power, sorry. But he's getting another generator soon. Yeah, he's getting the generator here. But us, he is rushing tier 2. He's like, nah, snipers, I need vehicles. And that's a good counter against snipers, vehicles, because snipers literally does nothing to vehicles. Pretty much. But here's the problem for us. And this is what I said about the thing about, like, if you try to get early tier 2 as with this build order, you spam land speeders. But if the Eldar goes tier 2 at the same time having tier 2 just like you should kind of be like, well, if he's tier 2 at the same time as me and I have such brutal eco boom, as long as I make sure I get relatively early tier 2 around 6 minutes, as long as I make sure at least that time, preferably a little earlier, but as long as I make sure I get that, I should be good. Because if he's getting tier 2 the same time as me, that means he probably doesn't have the best economy going into that tier 2, and that is bad because he won't be able to sustain that tier 2. He does that in the other game as well, where he goes tier 2 a little earlier, and Mihalij has a better economy than him, so he will have a better tier 2. He will get more out of tier 2. So this is why you can't just rush tier 2 if you don't have the economy to sustain the vehicles and stuff you need, right? So always make sure you at least have enough economy to sustain it. Astro Hero is not really showing it right now, but you can tell that the Eldar player is really under pressure here on the side. He has to retreat. Now there's also, oh my god, we need to slow this down so you guys can see it. He gets a skull probe, Mihalij, for good reasons. So here's two rangers, and we have only 2 scouts right now setting up for shooting. Bam, bam. Oh, maybe there was one over here, sorry. But like, you see how they one-shot units. Imagine that happens to Dark Reapers as well. It's such a brutal tactic against Eldar, and it outranges Eldar, it outdamages Eldar. So yeah, that's not good. But Mihalij gets his 3rd generator. Should have been his 4th, but he lost one. He has the tactical Space Marine, so he didn't go the Force Commander. And now he techs. So he might be behind in tech, but he's so ahead in economy. And as long as he makes sure, like I told you, that he gets it, not finishes it, but he gets it around 6 minutes, then it's okay. Preferably he would get it earlier, but he lost his generator in this case, so he couldn't get it too early. And as I told you, Oz is rushing tier 2, but he doesn't really have the economy to sustain it. And again, you can see here, Mihalij, he doesn't attach the skull probe to anything because he wants it to just sneak peek and see where are these guys at, these rangers at, and then the snipers can probably just sneak kill some of these people, some of these guys. So that's good. By the way, this is the sad part about. I think he killed another ranger, didn't he? Yeah, he killed another ranger, I think. So you see right here, Astro Hero doesn't really show it with the camera, but another ranger died. But the other thing is, Oz is literally trolling in this game. I don't know why, but for some reason he's going like support. What is it, Web Boy Gabe? But he doesn't really need it because why? The population cap is like. Why the population cap is completely fine. Why is he getting this? Why is he getting this turret? Like, what's going on here? He should get support portal at this point. I think Astro Hero even complains about it in this game. Yeah, this doesn't actually make sense. But that's how the build order works. So I don't think I need to show you guys more. You can watch this game yourself. You can also watch the Blood River game that's on Alex UK's channel. Again, I link everything down, guys. But yeah, that's the Sniper Maz build order. Let's get to the last one, shall we? Okay, last build order. This build order is super risky in my opinion, but I guess it works. And I guess you can do this build order if you know your opponent. You know the Eldar player's tendencies. But I think this might not be a very good idea if you play against Dark Reaper Mass, because those guys will probably deal a lot of damage to your base in the end. So if you have 3 Dark Reapers, then this might be a little risky. But yeah, whatever. If you can get snipers in time, then maybe you will get away with it. But yeah, I think this might be a little risky of a build order. But I've seen this happen a few times. In this best of 5 in of itself, we have Marcy versus Reaserch. Marcy, I don't know what the hell is going on, but he's basically like, I need to be a little careful with this, but it feels like he's literally schooling Reaserch, and he is playing some weird stuff. He has 5 games against Reaserch. He's playing Outer Reaches and he's playing Meeting of Minds, and he's still just, nah, I'm going Eco Boom, no Assault Marines needed, in 5 games in a row, and he beats Reaserch in this best of 5. And in my opinion, Marcy is doing some stuff that I didn't think you should do normally. But whatever, Marcy makes it work, and he's a Giga Chad, so what can I say? Marcy, he goes in this specific game, but I have seen other versions of this, but in this game he goes Eco Boom, and the concept or the idea behind Eco Boom is that just like Sniper Mass, you get a lot of LP upgrades. Then you basically just bunker up, and the Eldar player will probably have some problems because the Eldar player probably is only going Rangers and then scaling himself. But that's not a good idea, right? Because Space Marines is better tier 2 than Eldar is, right? So that's, I think, the theory behind this build order that Marcy is going. Then Marcy just goes into tier 2 and absolutely tears Reaserch apart. It's actually kind of brutal because this is on Outer Reaches. And I just told you that Assault Marines are a complete no-brainer on Outer Reaches. But I think this is Marcy going into it being like, haha, you thought I would go Assault Marines, but nah, I'm going Eco Boom. I'm doing something you have never seen before. Marcy plays, in my opinion, super risky in this game. He goes 2 scouts and he captures the outer points on the map, and he gets a barrack and a generator, and then he gets Force Commander, because if you build the generator you have to get the Force Commander first. And then he gets LPs, insta upgrade, second LP, insta upgrade, third LP, insta upgrade. So it's like the Sniper Mass. And then after he has gotten his 5th LP, he gets a Tactical Space Marine. Then he upgrades his 3rd listening post in this case. He gets a Skull Probe on the same time, and then he gets a Plasma Generator, another LP, and then he techs. And he has a tendency, because I've seen this several times, he has a tendency to just rush tech super early. I've seen him start like before 5 minutes, he just starts teching, which is like ridiculous, right? Sometimes I've seen All Seeing Eye do a less YOLO version of this, where instead of teching too early, he gets another Space Marine squad. And I've seen maybe upgrading one more LP2 before going into tier 2, but it's basically just early tech and bunker and don't have a lot of army, which is like, in my opinion, that's like next level. I personally don't believe you can do this consistently, but I guess specifically against an Eldar player who only goes Rangers, which Reaserch does a lot in these games, and I think it's a mistake. He doesn't really see what Marcy is doing, maybe. I'm not sure. Because I need to be a little humble, because these are super good players, so I don't want to like jump to conclusions too much. But it looks like Reaserch just goes Rangers for days, and he doesn't really go any Dark Reapers. He doesn't do anything against Marcy, and Marcy just gets to build his economy. If the Eldar player is just like chillin', then you should be chilling just as much and build up your economy, and then get tier 2 and then squash him. So let's get into this game, shall we? This is on Alex UK's channel, if I didn't already mention it, and it's on Outer Reaches, the Assault Marine map. Marcy's like, nah. You guys are noobs, okay? I know exactly how this I know exactly what to do myself. I'm the best, okay? He only gets 2 scouts, by the way. And he gets a generator. He gets servitor, thirdly. He gets the generator. When I saw this, by the way, I was like, what the is he doing? What the Okay, he just want to lose this game. But, nope. 3 Guardian squads from Marshes, and he gets Rangers. Generator, of course. Marcy captures his outer points. This is so risky. Imagine if he like ran into some Guardian squads. He wouldn't be able to capture anything. He wouldn't be able to do anything. But I guess he does this because specifically against Eldar, because Eldar has a tendency to capture their closest points. And I think the reason why they do that, if I haven't already said this, is because the Eldar is a little slow. They have low mobility without fleet of foot. So they can't just run all the way on the other side of the map. The other thing is that they usually get early harassed, and so they like to stay close to their points, I guess. So Marcy, he just reads the game perfectly early. He gets an LP early. He gets the both LPs early. And out of his you can't see it right now, but out of his barrack comes Force Commander. And he gets the LP up before his servitor dies. So you can see here, Marshes, if we look on his side, right? He gets his LP and he instantly upgrades to LP2. That means he's going more scaling, right? He's not getting a Dark Reaper squad or anything like that. He captures another point. And Marcy, he lost his whole squad here, so we only have 1 Kappa unit now. But he's also finishing this one, and he probably insta upgrades to LP2 here. Yeah, you can't see it. Well, he does. He instantly upgrades it. He gets this one down as well. So now he has 3 LPs, and I think he instantly upgrades that one as well. Well, not yet, because he doesn't have power yet, but he will soon. He gets this other LP as well. But as soon as he can, he just upgrades his LPs. He gets a tactical Space Marine now. And by the way, this is his whole army. 1 Space Marine squad and a Force Commander, that's it. The Force Commander is going into the enemy base, and the main reason for that is the Force Commander is not so good defensively. I've talked about this in several videos. He's really good if the opponent doesn't just run around 24/7, and Eldar is a perfect example of this. They just run around 24/7 and kite and kite and kite, and Force Commander is super slow. So you would rather have him go in to the enemy base, and you know the enemy base isn't really moving, right? So the builders will be in there, your Kappa units are trying to capture some points, and like having a Force Commander in there doing some damage is really annoying, right? So you can deny the relic up here. And he probably gets a Skull Probe soon. He upgrades his 3rd LP now, Marcy. I don't know what this servitor did, but whatever. Now he has 3 LP2s. This Force Commander is causing chaos. And see what the Rangers did. They went back to the base. They went back to their own base because they're not... Like, this Force Commander is like tearing up our base. What the hell? So now we have to like do something about it. Now he gets his second plasma generator right here, and he has this small army. We're talking 5 Space Marine squads, and he attached his Skull Probe to the Space Marine squad. Marshes is completely fine. He's just eco booming now. Now he gets his last LP on his side. That's not a strategic point. He builds that, and he goes tier 2. That is so early. That is so early. This guy is a monster. It's funny, right? This build order looks like a guy. Uh, this build order looks like what some guy called. I think that guy is called Jagus. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he made a build order video that looks very similar. That looks very similar to this build order. Oh my god, this is interesting. But if I remember correctly, that guy he tagged at 3:30. Even Marcy, guys, even Marcy doesn't do that. Even Marcy doesn't do that. But Marcy tagged at 4:30. He has one Space Marine squad and a Force Commander, right? So, and why can he do this? Because Reases, and I don't know if he just mind read Reases being like, yeah, Reases is just going to be teching, and he's just going to do Rangers, and that only Rangers the whole game, the whole early game, right? Reases is going tier 2 as well, very early as well. So they are both teching, but Marcy, he's completely fine with this. He's like, okay, that's fine. My tier 2 is stronger than your tier 2 if we have even economy. Marcy is doing some risky stuff here. I don't think this will go well for him. Yeah, the Force Commander is exchanging so much HP. What the hell? Okay, whatever. Like, this is so this this is so mind blowing that this is what Marcy gets away with. But I think it's because he sees it coming that Reases won't do anything special to him. By the way, Marcy does this several times in this best of 5. He does it in Battle Marshes, which is the 5th game. He does it on what's that, 3rd or 4th game? He played Outer Reaches, Meeting of Minds, Shrine of Excellion, Fata Morga. He does an even more aggressive version of this, which is like very interesting. Yeah, everyone should watch this best of 5. I feel like it's so interesting. Now, obviously, getting into tier 2 from Reases. Reases has a pretty good economy, actually. I don't know, for people who know Reases, okay? Was this normal for Reases? This is season 5 face to face. Was it normal of Reases to just do this thing where he just rushed tier 2 himself? Was it normal? And Marcy just read him like a book and went, okay, I go tier 2 too. Am I just delusional? What's going on here? Marcy goes Chaplain. He is tier 2 now, by the way, and he gets Armory. He didn't even get Armory while teching. He gets Armory after tier 2. Yep. And this is what I hate about the Skull Probe on the Space Marine squad, right? It just runs away from the squad. So normally if the Force Commander, he's together with these guys, they stay like a group, right? Come on guys, we're brothers here, right? We are one big unit. Skull Probe is like, nah, f you guys, I'm gonna go ahead and scout, I guess. I hate this so much. Look at this. I was taking all the damage. I'm the front line, brothers. Okay. Now he gets a lot of upgrades. He gets grenades and all the other upgrades. Plasma gun. He gets a 4th plasma generator. So he's eco booming, right? And even though Eldar has a pretty good... What the... Oh yeah, I remember that. I think that's a bug. Yeah, but whatever. Even though Eldar definitely got tier 2 as well, the Space Marines are getting rockets here. And they're completely fine with this. That's the luckiest vehicle I've seen in a while. There was 2 rockets going its way, and they probably both missed. But tier 2 Space Marines right here is really, really brutal. The Chaplain is super, super strong. And they have rocket launchers as well. Now in comes the Fire Dragons, but they aren't really doing anything because in this case, Marcy doesn't have vehicles. Marcy's like, nah, I went Sacred Artifact, bro. Don't worry. He goes Grey Knights and he gets a Librarian. So he went 3 heroes. What the hell? Now he gets he got the upgrade where he can have 4 weapons. So now he's also getting the heavy bolters in. Now he's just in Rombreeze's base. Tier 2 for Space Marines in general is stronger than Eldar Tier 2. But you can't just say that just like as a flat statement, because the problem is, well, it depends a little bit, right? If you go only vehicles and the opponent has a lot of fire dragons, then maybe it's not the case anymore. If you have a lot of infantry and Eldar has a lot of anti-infantry, for example warp spiders, then it gets a little more even, right? So you can't just make a flat out like blanket statement, but this is a general thing. Let's just finish it off. This is the last build order I'm going to show you guys. So let's just enjoy the last thing here. Oh, now Rombreeze's gets Assault Marines. They're actually pretty good tier 2 against Eldar because they can tie up Fire Dragons, and yeah, they're also pretty good against Warp Spiders if they can tie them up as well. Yeah, this is brutal. You can already tell that this game is over. Yep. We are watching scouts fighting melee against fire dragons while LP is helping them. This game is so over. This combination, by the way, this combination is really, really good. Get anti-vehicle rocket launchers on Space Marines, and then get Grey Knights and 3 heroes. That's really, really, really good. Now comes the Harlequin, but it's kind of too late. The Harlequin would have been good if it came earlier, because Marcy doesn't have vehicles. He doesn't have rhinos to hide his Space Marine squads in, so the Harlequin would have done something here. Definitely done something here, but it probably wouldn't have saved the game whatsoever. I think Rombreeze's gets super surprised in this game. This is what I think. I'm not a pro player, so I don't know, but this looks like, yeah, whatever. Marcy just surprised the hell out of him. It was so impressive. He outplayed Rombreeze's for sure. But yeah, go watch this whole best of 5. It's on Alex UK's channel. It's really impressive. I don't know what the hell Marcy, he was on something in this best of 5. Well, whatever, I'm done. Let's get to tier 2, guys. Okay, I'm gonna shortly talk about tier 2. So, tier 2 is kind of hard to talk about because I feel like there's so many variables when you get into tier 2. It's easier for me to talk about openings, and it's easier for me to talk about the early game just in general because it's a little more set in stone, where tier 2 feels a little more like you have to adapt to what's going on, and then it becomes more of a counter game. That's at least my experience. Maybe I'm not entirely sure about that, but I'll say what I've seen the Space Marine players do. So there's kind of 4 vehicles that Space Marine use, which is obviously it's the Rhino, and then it's Hellfire Dreadnoughts, and it's the two different Tempests, or Land Speeders, sorry. So there's Land Speeders, Land Speeder Tempest, Rhino, and Hellfire Dreadnoughts. Eldar in Tier 2, they have a tendency to either go vehicles or Warp Spiders, or they mix them both. When Eldar gets Warp Spiders, it's really good to have Hellfire Dreadnoughts, because Hellfire Dreadnoughts doesn't take the same damage, and they are also just really in general good against infantry mass. They have so much disruption and stuff, and they're randomly tanky as well. They don't do completely next level stupid damage, but they deal a lot of damage, has a lot of disruption, and yeah, overall they're super tanky and hard to play against if you don't have anti-vehicle. Fire Dragons obviously will be able to deal with them, but even Fire Dragons will get disrupted as well, and if you have 2, 3, maybe even 4 Hellfire Dreadnoughts, it gets really rough for Eldar if they have a lot of infantry. If Eldar also goes Fire Dragons, you can go a squad of Assault Marines, which will be super good against specifically Fire Dragons, but again, be careful, because if he has Warp Spiders, then the Assault Marines will probably have a hard time. The other thing that also is important to mention is if Eldar gets vehicles, usually the answer for the Space Marine player is to get obviously rocket launchers on Space Marine squads, but then also get some Land Speeder Tempests with crack missiles. But again, be careful of the Fire Dragons with the Land Speeders. Also, Eldar can get the Bright Lens, I think it's called, the upgrade on the Wraith Lords, which is really good damage against specifically vehicles, but it's all, especially like low health vehicles. So be a little careful with just like being completely brain dead against Eldar, because even though you have the better tier 2, it's not like Eldar can't outplay you whatsoever. If you are ahead in tech, and you know you're ahead in tech, and they won't have access to Fire Dragons yet, you get Land Speeder Mass, and you just murder Eldar because they won't be able to answer it, and you can have a lot of them in a short amount of time. I pretty much never see, well, I don't in general see this, but I pretty much never see the normal Dreadnought or the classic Dreadnought. I have also seen the opposite, where you don't go vehicles whatsoever, and we just saw one not that long ago where you go Sacred Artifact, and then you get the 3 heroes, Chaplain, Librarian, and you hopefully still have your Force Commander. You get Grey Knights, and then you have at least 2 Space Marine squads that can have some sort of anti-vehicle, which is very important, because Eldar will probably go vehicles if they see that you don't have any anti-vehicles. So it's really important that you have some rocket launchers. But it's also good to have a little bit of anti-infantry, so heavy bolters are not that bad either. So maybe 2 heavy bolters, maybe 1 heavy bolter, maybe 3, it depends a little bit, but just get a mixture. If you go Grey Knights and 3 heroes, the only anti-vehicle you will have though is the rocket launchers, so don't get too many heavy bolters, let me just say it like that. That transition into tier 2 is completely fine as well, and it's brutal to watch. I cannot, with my own personal, this is why I'm also a little careful with talking about tier 2. I'm not 100% sure when to go Sacred Artifact or go vehicles against Eldar. I feel like it becomes almost like a poker game. If you know they're going Fire Dragons, then it's pretty good to have Grey Knights, and if it's the opposite, then it's more like anti-infantry with Wall Spiders. Maybe it's good to have, you know, vehicles and stuff, and especially Hellfire Dreadnought. So it's like, it almost becomes like a poker game, and that's why tier 2 is very much about adaptation and like kind of seeing tendencies within the game. What is my opponent right now doing, and what do I need right now to counter that? I have also seen cases where the Space Marine player has both, so he has, well, usually he gets one of them first and then he invests in that. So if he goes vehicles, he goes vehicles. If he goes Grey Knights, he gets Grey Knights. But I've also seen cases where, okay, maybe I just get the other part of my tier 2 and then get a little bit of that if the opponent is doing something specifically that I need to do to counter that. But I see that way more rarely. The Sacred Artifact is pretty good because it gives some upgrades that's pretty good. But yeah, I would be a little careful with like taking too many of my advices on tier 2. I'm just saying what I've kind of seen, but it's way more inconsistent, and it's way harder for me to see patterns in general. So yeah, I'm just putting out general rules of tier 2. So I hope this was good enough. I'm gonna end this video with a bit of a conclusion. Eldar is possible to beat, and Eldar is very hard to win against in general, but I do think it's possible to win against Eldar if you know exactly what to do and if you've played against them several times. What All-Seeing Eye, Randall Thor, Mihalich, all of these players, what they have shown me is that if you are a very good player, even if the enemy Eldar player is good, you have a real chance to win. If you choose the correct maps, if you or you choose the correct strategies for the correct maps, and you are a little bit better of a player than the Eldar player, you will for sure win. And you might say, well, what if the Eldar player plays perfect and it's not a good map for me? Then yeah, maybe you probably lose, but as long as you do your best, guys, you could probably win against Eldar. Nowadays, I actually enjoy this matchup way more than I used to, because I now know what I'm supposed to do, and it almost makes me exciting when I see Eldar sometimes. It makes me go like, ooh, okay, here we go. He threw down the gauntlet. Now it's my time to prove him wrong. So you can see it from different angles, guys. I hope you guys now know what to do against Eldar. If there's any pro players or any good players out there, please try to correct some of the things that I'm saying, because this video, just like my first video, is made to help people learn. And if I say anything wrong, and again, I don't claim to be a pro player, I don't claim to be the best in the world, but if I'm saying something wrong, please tell me and help people to learn or get better, or at least correct some of my statements so they won't make some mistakes that they don't deserve to make. Beginners and players who is playing 1v1 for the first time or haven't played 1v1 for a long time, they deserve better than to just have wrong information, and they also deserve to, get some help out there so we can help each other in this community. And yeah, whatever. Shout out to Soulstorm community, shout out to Alex UK, thank you for your videos. Shout out to Astro Hero, thank you to your videos as well. Shout out to Jagus Art, I still love you, bro, but like, come on, that build order video was nah, I'm just kidding. See you guys.